Hey, this is No Autopilot, founder of the Gaming Startup Collective and host of the Token Takeover podcast. In today's episode, we're conducting another deep dive into the complexity of fundraising for your Web3 startup. Now, this one went off the rails a little bit because my main guest ghosted me, but we were able to salvage it thanks to the help of some awesome folks within the Game7 community. All right, enough of me talking. Let's jump in.
Hey, what's up, Helios? Let me know if you can hear me, because if you can't, that's a problem. Hey, nice.
Hello?
Hey, what's up, June?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I did not almost fell.
I stepped outside for like 5 minutes to get some sun. My mood's not great if I wake up in the dark and stay in the dark, so wanted to get some energy back before I call.
Yeah, that's a challenge up here, too. So I live outside of Portland, Oregon, and we have more cloudy days than most folks, so it's tough, man. Yeah, like today's actually quite sunny. So after this, I might have to go take the dog for a walk. Yeah, so I'd say for the folks who are trickling in, this is supposed to be a very communal question and answer session. So if you have specific questions about, fundraising for your project, or you're just curious in general, feel free to jump up on the stage. Nobody will bite. Maybe June, but I won't. That's for sure. And we should have Miko joining us here any moment. I had my first read through the Game7 report yesterday.
The state of Web3 Gaming?
Yeah.
I still haven't finished it. I started it a few days ago, and I haven't had time to read through.
I feel like...
How is it so far?
I mean, it's amazing, just like last year's. I find like I have to read it once and then think about it and then come back and dive into the details to really understand what's happening in the market. Hey, what's up, everyone? Thanks for joining. We should have Miko in here any moment. And actually, I guess I could probably go ahead and knock out some basics. So let's do some quick introductions. So my name is Ryan Turner. I go by the handle No Autopilot. I've created a Discord community called the Gaming Startup Collective, whose whole purpose is to bring Web3 founders together to collaborate, network, educate, and hopefully accelerate everyone's startup. Game7 has been tremendously gracious and has given us the opportunity to host one of our question and answer sessions in their Discord, which is what we will be doing today. Here in a moment, we're going to be joined by Miko Matsumura. He's a general partner at Gumi Cryptos. We had this in the announcement, but their firm has over 500 million deployed in Web3. They were early backers in YGG, OpenSea, and others. And what's really quite interesting about that is, they were able to see things that no one else did in those teams and those products. So really quite exceptional and interesting. So he has agreed to kind of join us this morning to answer any questions that the community has around fundraising for their Web3 startup. So super straightforward, super easy. Let's see, can we get the links? Which links are we referring to? Ooh, what's up, everybody? Great turnout today. Thanks for showing up. In addition, so while we're waiting on Miko here, I do have a disclaimer to read, right? We got to give these things out, make sure everyone's staying safe. So discussions, opinions expressed here are not intended to provide investment, accounting, tax, or legal advice. Nor are we recommending that you purchase, sell, or hold any security or other investment, or that you pursue any investment style or strategy. Seek out your own financial legal advisors for any such advice. Also, please note that the views expressed in this AMA are not necessarily Game7's views. We encourage participation and learning from this citizen-led initiative. Hey, I see Miko. See him on the side there. Okay, I gotta open the chat. Oh, yeah, those links. I'm sorry. Yeah, I got those. Send them right over here. While we're waiting for Miko here, does anyone have, any questions they want to share in advance? And I can make sure that we ask those first and foremost to Miko. Yeah, start listing questions. Let's go. Do you like autopilot? No, man. Okay, so quick story behind that while we're waiting here. So I'm 36, right? I feel like for most part of my life, I did a lot of stuff on autopilot. I went to college, I got a job, I worked for a decade and a half, and it's cool, but I really wasn't feeling fulfilled. And so No Autopilot is the sense of approaching everything with just a tremendous amount of energy and excitement, maybe doing some crazy things that don't make sense, but just enjoying the journey. So there you go. Camper, yeah. Fundraising type questions. That'd be great. And actually here, I'm going to jump into, where's Mr. Miko here? I'm going to try jumping into this Google Meets that he sent. Maybe wires are crossed and he's there. So give me 1 moment, folks.
Hey, are you a builder looking for grants to build your ideal Web3 gaming startup? If so, you should take a look at the Arbitrum grant program. With grants up to $25,000 and a specific focus on supporting early stage indie game devs, it could be the perfect fit. Link is in the description. Make sure to check it out. Now back to the podcast.
All right, folks. So I am back. I am not being able to catch Miko, so I'm going to hope he trickles in here at some point. In the meantime, if it would be valuable or helpful, I'm happy to look at some of the questions that have been asked, and either maybe I can help kind of provide some insight or guidance, or other members in the community may have experience as well.
We have the questions on the side, and Josh offered to hop on and chat with us while we wait for Nico as well. Josh, if you want to give a brief intro, sounds like you have some experience at Buffy Corn Ventures, so we'll do this for now, and hopefully Nico can make it through before the end.
Funny beginning story with Miko. I actually went on you guys have all seen Bill here at some point, and Bill Warren. He and I had a company back in the day, Beach Democracy, where we went on Miko's show at one point. And then we pitched Miko as part of Opolis, where I'm one of the founding stewards, and Miko turned us down. So this it's a fun lesson of learning and improving pitches, and he then came in personally. So I'm a founding steward at Opolis and one of the Buffcorn steward of Eat Denver, and I help out with partnerships on Summon. As part of Eat Denver, we have Buffcorn Ventures that invests in Eat Denver hackathon projects and founders that have some sort of Eat Denver origin story. We have 11 portcos, significantly smaller balance sheet than Gummy Cryptos does. They're a much larger fund, but we have a much smaller scope. It's very narrow, and it's focused on kind of the regenerative circle of making sure that we invest in people who come to Eat Denver so they can come back as sponsors and bid a little next year. But we go through the same diligence process, whether the check size is 5,000 or 500,000 or 5 million. You still have to do really good diligence on these deals. You don't want to throw good money away.
Let's do this. So Miko did hit me back. He's saying that Discord onboarding makes him feel a bit uneasy. And so I don't know if he's going to be able to swing through today. So Josh, I think you're next man up here.
Is he having trouble getting through Discord, or is he just not uncomfortable? Is he just uncomfortable with Discord?
Well, I think he's generally comfortable with Discord, but I think he's maybe turned off a little bit by the security. And I don't want to heavy hand him into doing something he's not comfortable with, you know?
I see. Okay. I mean, understood. Yeah, just learning moments for us as we do these more in the future, so no problem.
I want to make sure we get at least some of these questions answered, and we do have Josh here, so Josh, thanks again for jumping in. Scroll to the very beginning. I don't want to miss anybody's great questions here. Oh, Josh, you yourself had the first question. Should we ask you your own question?
Probably not. Yeah, sure.
All right, so
go
ahead.
Not a lawyer and not an accountant. The advice that I give is not particularly. All right, what was the question that this asshole asked?
Yeah, before we get into the questions, we had a suggestion in the chat if Miko would be open to coming on Google Meet and someone can stream.
Josh, why don't you answer that question for yourself? I'm going to try and see if we get him on a Google Meet, and maybe I can share my screen.
I want Miko to answer my question. We can do you need a streaming software? I have a streaming software.
It's okay. Let me try this Google Meets thing, and if it doesn't work, I don't want to waste his time or everyone else's time, especially if we can get some of the basic things answered, you know? But here, I'll try this. Go ahead and answer that question, and if I can't get it sorted, then we'll scrap it.
Yeah, maybe we can bounce over to Jordan's question and then over to Spidey's. Do you see it, Josh?
Although I don't have experience investing in games, so I don't want to give bad advice here.
Completely fine. Give what you can, and if the question is not appropriate for you, we can just move on to the next. Maybe a more general one, like Spidey asking,
does the pitch deck really matter? It depends. It depends on the investor you're in front of. Everybody has their own kind of corpse. Like you'll see, if you go on VC Twitter, some people will be like, oh, it's about the warm intro. And some people will be like, yeah, the pitch deck needs to be perfect. It really depends on who your audience is and who you're trying to talk to. For me, the pitch deck doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to get across the information that I'm looking for. There are some finer things of if you've got 10 decks in front of you and you're only allowed to make 2 deals, one of the things that you can do to check to whittle it down is does this deck have typos? If they didn't put the care into preparing the deck with decent English structure, or like overlapping. If it doesn't look as a good presentation, like is the product going to turn out that well? And it's kind of like a first like easy test. I've never dinged someone that hard for not having a deck or for having not a perfect one.
But if your project does entail, and a lot of companies do require pitch decks, even to open up conversation with them. In the expert Q&A, Spidey, we've had several people share their pitch decks and get some feedback and practical next steps to improve it. We have Delroy in the audience as well. I know he's reviewed a bunch and he's helped a bunch as well. I think Jordan has offered his pitch deck for review. I think Helios helped out with reviewing as well. So that's an option for you. I know this is not the perfect answer that you were looking for, but yeah, this is something that we can help out with in the meantime, and we can bring Miko back another time for you to get a more straightforward, a more blunt response to your question.
I don't know if a blunt response is. I mean, like, yes, we do want to hear from multiple people because, like, part of my it depends is every investor is going to answer that question differently. Like, obviously, you should try to put your best foot forward.
I have a question that's come up a couple different times. So if you're a founder who doesn't have a network, like say that you're bootstrapped, and now it's at the point where you need capital to hit your next major milestone, so it's time to meet some angels, right? Like, if you're a founder without a network at all, how would you recommend they find angels and kind of start that conversation?
That's a good question. I've met a few founders who've had this problem. One of the common answers I get when offers is to go out and build that network. It's kind of like a first, like, early tell. Like, some people, they like, well, this is a stellar founder, they've got a thing, it's a slam dunk, like, they'll want to be that first money in the door. But often a lot of investors don't want to. They FOMO. And so they'll want to, they'll invest because other people are investing, right? And this is part of the warm intro, cold intro conundrum. Is like, if you can't find yourself a way to get a warm intro, like, how are you going to be able to build a team? Like, how are you going to network to find the employees who are going to come work for you? There's a ton of meetups. Most cities, like, you can find. I actually don't know about gaming meetups. I bet there are. There's a lot of Web3 meetups.
I was going to say, and I've heard this before, but it's almost like a filter, right? Like,
it is.
If you're not scrappy enough to go out and blunt force your way into a network or build relationships with people to help your project succeed, that could be a really strong indicator that maybe you just don't have the skill set quite yet to have a successful startup, which is, there's been millions of amazing products built, but the difficult part is connecting it to a customer or a user base or partners that would value it.
You can get these Discords. This is another good community. One of the things that's really important is to get yourself out there, but in person and on these calls. So if I see just a blurb in a random channel, I'm probably going to ignore it unless I've seen you a few of these calls before or I met you at a conference. There's at least 6 or 7 names in here that I recognize super well. And if I saw a post, I'd be like, oh, okay, I'm going to pay attention to this. It's just the way you can start building a network is by being active in the community.
All right. So I was finally able to connect with Miko. Still having challenges with the Discord stuff. So I'm going to have to get him in at another time.
Yeah, he texted me. It seems that there's on one of the pages, it wanted him to enter a password. And I was like, I think that's probably just an ad. And he seems to find a different button.
Oh, that's hilarious. So we got a bunch of questions pumping through. Yeah, let's see if we've missed any. Do you recommend building a game demo to ask for funding, or is it better to get feedback first, iterate on that, and then build out a demo? This is from HD Olivers. Hope I pronounced that right. Yeah, Josh, I guess, do you want to take a first crack at that one?
So not from a game specific, but from a product. So it depends on the round and how much you're asking for and what you're asking for. I'm helping a company right now in Austin raise a pre-seed, and a lot of the investors we talked to were like, you should probably be doing a seed and have an MVP ready for us. And so that's kind of the difference of how much money, how much of your company are you willing to give away early on? Some of the the earliest checks are going to take a little bit more, but will help you to get that MVP. Whereas if you've got the resources to be able to put an MVP together, then you can skip that pre-seed or friends and family and try to do a proper seed round. The answer to almost every question is going to be, it depends, because no two situations are the same. You got one founder who's got $1 million in the bank and they're doing a second thing versus a founder who's, washing dishes, trying to break into the tech scene. And they're not going to be able to approach the same problem the same way.
I'll add on to that too. So in the Gaming Startup Collective, we've had a couple Web3 VCs and Web3 Gaming founders kind of talk about the process. And what they've shared is you yourself need to determine what your MVP is. Like, don't let the investors dictate that to you. And then you need to find investor partners who align with like your vision is behind that, right? And so for some teams, if you've shipped games before, maybe you don't have to create like a playable alpha to prove that you can do it. If it's your first time shipping a game, or like your founder team are like first time founders, then maybe you would need to prove more in terms of your capability in order to be successful in your fundraising. All right, moving through here. Trancy said, and then much harder to raise for a pre-seed round versus a token round. And, you know, I think a broader question to that is, are VCs still doing token rounds? I thought it flipped to equity.
I'm going to give my favorite answer here. It depends. Again, I think it depends on who you're trying to raise from, like what arena, like what's in demand. So like about a year ago, all the crypto VCs were like trying to get into AI and they were trying to buy up what they could. So it's a founder's market, right? So the founder can sell whatever they want. And then I also think there's a difference between trying to raise from like one of the big guys versus like some Russian with $5 million. It's like, oh, I have a VC. We do token deals. Or a DAO that's just doing DAO to DAO investments. And they're not able to take equity. They're only able to do token deals. DXDAO was doing that for a long while, in which case you're doing token warrants if you don't have a token yet. And then you have a US, non-US question, which is if you're going to exclude Americans, the preference maybe to just go off and sell a token. You know that you're not going to be regulated by the SEC. Now, what the appetite is among either like what stage you are and the investors that you have at your fingertip.
You know, I think that's maybe that's not the answer we all want to hear, but I think that's the best answer. We want the hard-hitting facts.
Well, I don't know if there are facts because there's so much subjectivity, and like I haven't built a unicorn, right? And I haven't been on the VC side of investing in a unicorn, not yet. It's all subjective.
I guess that's the beauty of these conversations is we can pick little pieces off from everybody and hopefully get pointed in the general correct direction. All right, cruising through here. So Grand Marquis had a question. Now, I'm wondering if the first part may have been addressed to Miko, who, again, we had some challenges with. But he said, you're investing in projects across several verticals in Web3. What did these projects, especially at an early stage, have in common that gave you conviction to invest? And then his follow-on question was, are you more prioritizing team or are you more prioritizing product market fit? Good questions. Josh, do you want to crack those?
I'll just give the Buffcorn Ventures answer real quick. We focus significantly more on team and what we believed in these teams to be capable of, rather than worrying about product market fit. Because like we only invest in first money in the door, so it's pre-seed. It's like these are hackathon and like the whole point of it is quit your job, build the hackathon project that you just won, 20, 30 grand with, and like spend 6 months to a year like building it. It's more about experimentation in the ecosystem and trying to build building blocks that may be able to do something for the ecosystem, be a positive effect for good. So inside of our thesis, it's not so much like, do we think you have a good idea? It's more of like, you as a founder, do you have a positive track record? Did you assemble a team around you that is also willing to quit their jobs and is competent at laying code? And a lot of these cases in crypto investing, like you'll find a team and you've got a deck that's got 12 people listed on a deck, and like 9 of them have full-time jobs somewhere else. And so it's like, okay, what am I actually investing in? It's so common. And it's like one of the questions you have to ask people. It's like, okay, of these people, like run through your roster, who's working on this full time? And that can be like one of the most important questions that you get asked when you're raising funds. Like, don't just throw people on because you think the name, or like, I got thrown on a deck once because I worked at Consensus, and this guy was like, no, I want you on my slide because you worked at Consensus. It'll add weight to the thing. It's like, that's not. No, it won't. Promise it won't. Did I give another? It depends of your answer.
No, man, you crushed it. But I have a follow up on it then. So you talked about like founding team members or equity owners working full time jobs, or maybe in multiple startups. I'm curious, like, what does your due diligence process look like when like a deck comes across your desk and you're trying to validate? Okay, are these guys like all in, or are they like half in, half out? Like, what does that process typically look like?
What does the due diligence process look like?
Yeah, exactly.
Usually just asking questions. People don't usually lie about that stuff, especially because if you lie on due diligence, like you can, like those are legal problems. Like you're going to court and you're probably going to lose. You can't lie to investors. I can't remember the exact. So here I want to help me out on what's the SEC is like real strict about lying to investors. You just cannot do it. That's why a lot of these calls are recorded. Yeah, just ask the question. There's some like LinkedIn digging. Like there's nothing wrong with in Web3. Like I have 3 different part-time jobs right now, right? And I'm probably on at least 1 or 2 decks that are raising part of the ecosystem and how it works. It's just like as a founder, when you're answering these questions, don't oversell someone's participation because you think it'll serve the narrative. It'll come back to bite you. Be honest. It would be my advice.
It kind of feels like for a lot of this, it boils down to relationship building, being trustworthy, forthright, admitting the fact that maybe you don't have all the answers, and that you're looking for a partner to fill in your blanks.
Yeah, that's definitely a big part of it. And then another thing to consider is investors that you bring onto your seed round, especially if it's not just like all angels, is like these are your partners that are going to be around for a while. Like okay, I don't know if I want to give this as financial advice, but like you shouldn't just go out and look for investors who are just going to write a check and fuck off because they're not going to help you. There's no value add there. Like anybody can write you a check, but you want someone who's like industry specific and or has some sort of like ability to help you hire and can connect you to their other portfolio companies and et cetera, right? But most importantly, you're probably going to have to raise again. And so if you're not being honest with the people you are raising in the first round, like they're not going to follow on, and they're probably going to tell their friends not to follow on when you go to raise again if you lie to them. The VC community is super tight, and I know this because I'm on the outside. And I don't get away with the cool kid, but they all talk. All of them talk.
I feel like you should be at the cool kid table, man. Like the whole Buffett core and come on, man. What are they doing? They need to open the door, let you slide through.
We have our own cool kid club, but like our checks are like $50,000 to $250,000, and so the cool kid club is like when you're writing $1 million checks. You know, we're not there yet, but we will be soon.
Okay, so this is going to take me on another somewhat relevant tangent. For the people who don't know, can you explain where VCs get their money from, and maybe like some of their concerns or considerations around how they deploy it, the frequency that they have to deploy, the returns that are expected from the people they've taken the money from, just for folks who maybe aren't familiar with how that side of the coin works?
Here's another classic, Josh. It depends. There is like a clear answer here, but it also depends. So Buffcoin Ventures. All right. So the easy answer is other people's money. The person who is like in these meetings is not usually writing over their own money. It is the case that some VCs are invested in their own funds. Most of them do have to have some skin in the game. There's limited partners and then there's general partners. The LPs are usually the ones who they'll write a check to join the fund, but they don't take an active participation in any of the like investing and due diligence stuff. They'll just kind of read reports. Some are more active than that, of course. Every VC is different, so this is why it's a broadly inside of the answer of it depends. And then you've got GPs who generally do have to write a check, and it varies by size of fund and type and whatever. So that they do have skin in the game, so they're not just like signing away other people's money. And a lot of the guys and women who are involved in these deals get something called carry, in which if they make an investment deal and you take off and you have another round and then that's it and everybody gets money, everybody gets rich, they're going to get cut of that. And so they very specifically, like, so they've got, you know, their day job where they've got a heavy plate of they've got to take X amount of meetings and write X amount of memos and make X amount of deals per year. But they also have to make sure that they're making good deals, because if they invest in all duds, they're not making that variable comp. That's where they get rich, is investing in the right deals and being able to carry and make that big, those bonuses, right? So that answers one side of the question. With Buffcoin Ventures, we did a couple of the major Web3 companies, and DAOs gave us grants, and the rest are LPs. So like Harmony wrote a $500,000 grant, meaning they don't have any investment into the fund. They don't have any like economic rights to the fund. They just want to support the ecosystem. And then you've got like Near and Polygon and a bunch of smaller angels. I don't think Miko joined that. But he's not here to defend himself, so I'm not Dan Miko, you should join. Maybe next year. Basically, anybody who invested in the fund, like we did it all on chain, so the money's in a DAO, and if at any point the LPs wanted to withdraw their funds, they could rage quit a pro rata amount of what's left in the fund. We did an on-chain thing, which is unique. It's not common. But anybody who joined that Moloch DAO has access to the Discord and the Tronverse, and actually Summon soon. When that, I don't know, this is not public, so the state's here.
In the recording.
It's public in the recording. By the time this comes out, or if this ever gets reproduced, it'll be public. So we're like weeks away from the point. But Buffcorn Ventures is going to use Summon, which you guys all use here to become citizens. I love being a citizen. It's one of my favorite things. To like token gate access to deal memos and that kind of stuff. Some of the bigger funds do something similar, just off chain. I know it's like Google Drive. Did I answer the whole question?
No, you really did. You crushed it.
Other people's money, OPM. Always remember that.
Other people's money. So okay, so in that dynamic, like where we've lived through a pretty deep bear, a lot of those limited partners maybe don't have as much capital as they did.
Yeah.
And so like I imagine that makes the job of a VC very stressful because you're trying to squeeze, lemons out of a rock in the market, but you got the people who gave you the money maybe needing to go back.
In a lot of cases, they actually don't even have the money yet. And this is what one of the cascading problems from the FTX, well, started with Luna, but the FTX contagion, this is one of the problems. So when someone like ASIC, here's a good example, Bankless Ventures just raised a $30 million fund. That doesn't mean that $30 million is sitting in a bank account somewhere because, and I don't remember the exact details from the deck, the capital calls are like 10%, 30%, 30%, 30% or something like that, which means that like to close the fund and have the deal, like have it ready to go, they only needed of that 30 million, 3 million sitting in their bank account because they only called 10% of the commitments. And as time goes by, those commitments are called and they're able to deploy more capital in these deals. So what happens during this bear market, and this is all like conjecture, not all conjecture, it's somewhat conjecture. A lot of the funds that were operating in the space were actually, milestone-based commitment. That's a good go indicator. A lot of the funds were actually storing their commitments in FTX. And so when Sam went on the spending spree, was investing in all these politicians, it was with these funds' money. This isn't one of the things that we'd like, it's still being shaken out, that a lot of these funds like have not, I think that they're maybe hiding it from their investors a little bit because they're just waiting to see if they can get the money back before they have to start getting into some shit. But like it's, I can't say definitively that's what's happening because it's conjecture. It's we assume that all of this capital not being deployed is not being deployed because it can't be deployed. And this also happened with like Genesis and BlockFi. And so like the funds that were storing their funds on chain, absolutely fine, still deploying capital because they were self-custodying their money and they were living their values. And this is another one of the things that you want to like pay attention to, especially like gaming industry. If you're raising from the gaming industry, still going to be banking and wires probably, right? But if it's like Web3 niche gaming, when you say, hey, you can send the USDC to this multisig, and they're like, no, we only send wires. It's like, maybe is that a red flag? I don't know. I don't invest in this space specifically to be able to say if that's a red flag or not. But to me, it would be. I don't like people who can't use USDC.
Can you expand on that a little bit? Like, what's your fear or concern in that situation?
My concern, because I'm a decentralization maximalist rather than a gamer maximalist, which I'm in the process of converting. Or the Game7. Yeah, my concern would be that like if you're trying to build a Web3 game and you take money from pure like gaming industry, like, and it's on them for writing the check, but like maybe they won't be as on board with the Web3 stuff. The next time the SEC does some sort of bullshit regulatory crackdown that we all know isn't going anywhere, but it spooks them. And they're like, no, you got to pivot. You got to cut the Web3 stuff out. Are you going to buckle to the investor that has 20% of your cap table? Or are you going to, what I mean? You don't want to put yourself, and this goes back to the question that I asked because I wanted Miko to answer. How do you involve more of the community? I'm part of two very large communities that don't have investors who can dictate terms. SporkDAO doesn't have investors. Opolis doesn't have investors. It does have investors, but investors that don't have governance rights, because the way the cooperative was designed, the members, the citizens of the cooperative have that power, and so we don't have that issue doesn't come up. And when we get further deeper into the next cycle, and the deals start getting structured and becomes a founder's market again. Right now, it's a bear market. Everyone's struggling for oxygen, right? But once everybody and their mom is deploying smart contracts and they're raising money, the money will be flowing much easier once, ETH is back at 4,000, because instead of having to write a 10 ETH check, I'm able to write a 3 ETH check. You know what I mean? Like the founders really will dictate terms a little bit better. I think we should be really focusing on these like Web3 terms that empower the community rather than empower. Now, obviously, it's their capital and they should be able to deploy it how they want. And, we live in a capitalist society. I know I said it with a tone, but like we do. We live in a capitalist society where like they can put their money into treasuries at 5%, or they can take a risk on your game and your company and potentially 10x, 100x, 500x. And that's a risk that they're taking. So they have every right to try to dictate terms. But you have to remember it's your company and you should be dictating terms. That's my financial, not financial advice.
So we got 3 minutes here, 12:08 a.m. I am so sorry. I was thrown off my game by the struggle to get Miko on. I just realized you're on the stage.
A half an hour? Who's on the stage?
12:08 a.m.
Yeah, so
I'm like, it's not that time. It's like 12:45.
How little you think of me, man. Come on, Josh.
I know. Nice to meet you, 12:08.
Yeah, so Ryan, to your earlier question about, what can people do if they are working on a project, they're coming into this space without a network. What can you do to expand your network and like have more reach? In 1208, he joined the Game7 Discord and he wanted to share a story of like how he was able to meet people and like get him off the foot. And if we have time, maybe we can bring Jordan on the table as well. I think he's had a lot of positive experiences and he's been able to leverage the Game7 community in a way that works for him and is fun for him. So if we have time and if he wants.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Wait, is your mic working? We can't hear you if you're talking.
Blame all the technical difficulties on me. It's all No Auto's fault.
You're good, man. We live and we learn. We've run into Discord issues in the past too, so like we've had to move our like 40% calls onto Google Meets to make sure to include everyone.
So 1208, make sure that your computer settings are the same as your Discord settings. Those will always get screwed up, and I have to go into both and make sure that they're connected to my headphones.
Yo, Discord audio is incredibly annoying, and frequently like it'll pop up that hello everyone. It'll pop up that, it'll pop up a notification saying like, oh, we've detected something new. Do you want to change? And like the answer is no, but it makes you think you want to say yes.
I think it's working now.
Hey, there you go.
Oh, I'm so sorry about that. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? But okay, just to introduce myself, I'm from the perspective of like a developer. I do have a question or two. I guess I can share a little background. I find myself producing this game. I've been working on it for like a year and a half or two. I've been working with some partners for the whole time that I've been kind of putting it out there in the world. We're preparing ourselves to release the demo, basically beta 1.0, next month, and then continue developing through next year. But like I mentioned, I'm in the peculiar place where I've gotten some significant interest from partnerships in the last couple of years. I landed a third partner recently. I see him in the crowd right now. How you doing, Delroy? What I just wanted to ask was like, the way I got connected through my partners thus far, I approached them with offering them a service that they needed, which was, graphics, 3D animations. And that's how I approached them as far as them getting to know me as a person and as a worker. So that opened the doors for me with ModaDAO, and they brought me in as their metaverse experience designer. So what I did is I very quickly in 6 months put together a metaverse and Decentraland for them last year. We hit the Metaverse Music Festival in 2022. We had like over 50 performances, so we had like a really ambitious space where I really hit the nail on the head as far as trying to make an EDM-centered space within the Decentraland. So we were going for a warehouse-type party, and they were really happy with all of that, and that gave me a chance to work with them for over a year, which then led to our business partner relationship, right? They knew I was working on this game the whole time. I kept it in my back pocket and on the weekends. And then when after a year came up, we started talking about like what I was doing with my game on the side, and we started talking more as far as partnership goes. And that's been the last 3 or 4 months or 5 months now. And so we're coming to the close of the year, preparing to release and show everything that I've been working on, gathering our community, of course. But like, this is where I find myself. I have no runway left with my team, but we've put together a whole product where it includes character NFTs, token collecting, and the whole thing's based around this music game, right? That's how I gained trust with someone to give me, money and partnership and guidance, because that's been the main thing that I've been learning from these guys after the like year and a half or two, is all the business side of things, which I was completely ignorant to before, right? And so what's interesting these days is obviously got a couple of really good partnerships that not only fit the game, but like are going to open up doors for me as far as music and the music industry. What I'm wondering right now is, before we start pitching to angel investors, what is an angel investor like the best strategy to move forward with the particular position I'm in, where we have the product built, we're working on all the marketing stuff, our runway is over, but we want to put out the product late this year, early next year, and I'm trying to strategize as to what would be the best way to attract not only an investor, but like obviously have them giving me a maximum amount of investment money, and how to convince them to do that. Now, I was going to ask, should I put the demo on the market for anyone to play? Should I keep it gated so that only people who invest money into the project get to play it? Or is there any other strategy for me to like take this company to the next step so that we can have community and the funding there in place, right? I know it's a heavy question, but if anybody has any advice,
No, that was a great question.
I would really appreciate it, because that's where I find myself going from 2023 to 2024.
So I don't know this well in the music and gaming industry specifically, but like, you sound like you're a perfect candidate for an incubator. There's a lot of incubators out there that want to see, they want to see like at least some sort of product. So you're kind of out of the game. Like what Y Combinator is like the biggest and most well known, and then there's the other ones that are like, we're not Y Combinator. Techstars does a decent, like, I would be wary of some of the smaller incubators that like overpromise and underdeliver. But some of the bigger names are, I mean, they'll take 7% of the company or something. But
Right.
they're like, where are you based?
I'm in Los Angeles, California.
Yeah, there's a lot out there. California is a mecca for incubation.
That's good to know.
That would be my first. Anybody else want to take a shot?
Incubations. Thanks, man. Wrote all this down.
I guess just a quick comment. It's really exciting at what stage you're at.
Yeah, it's super exciting, man. Like, I see all these opportunities. I just don't know where we're going next. Yeah.
Wrote in a piece of an answer, which is, I can't really think of a situation in which players having played your game is unhelpful to getting into an incubator, getting investment, or anything, literally. That's kind of the number one thing.
Yeah.
Unless someone here can think of, a reason you wouldn't want that.
That's how I felt so far, because I'm so close to releasing this thing that, like, I feel like that's the last piece I need to put out to convince, like, the next VC, right? Or like the next investor or whatever it is, incubator, to see some revenue numbers, right? And some analytics.
Yeah, exactly. If the game is fun, but the numbers are low, what matters is, the people who are playing it, what's their engagement with it like? What's the, repeat players and stuff like that? Because anyone can understand, like, if you just haven't had money to scale and market yet, right, that you can get there and they can help you. So it's like, focus on those core first players.
And like how much retainment you get and how many players are on there.
All those things are great numbers, yeah.
Another thing it might be interesting to look at, too, is outside of fundraising, a lot of the chains are creating grant programs. Now, it won't give you like a year's runway, but it could give you 3 months. If there's a major milestone that if you hit, now instead of raising, let's say, $1 million, now you raise like $3 million because you've proven more. So that could be something to explore as well.
Yeah, we actually started with grant applications. It's only been a few months. I've gotten some kickbacks, but they've only led to talks that haven't led to, movement. But they're still open. So I'm really hoping I can still get a grant or two. But I think next month, when we actually put the trailer out and we've announced our partnerships and everything, hopefully I can come back to them and say, hey, like, what's up? Like, we're going to move forward with a couple other chains. Hopefully they're interested in moving forward with us. But if not, then, like, I need to just keep moving ahead. It's just that they are some pretty big names. It's just still a bear market, so it's been tough getting grants thus far.
Just know you're not alone. I talk with a lot of builders, and it's the same experience kind of all the way around.
Yeah, there's a little solidarity there for sure.
So we've kind of ran over. Sorry, June, but I think the conversation's been great. And I think like the amount of discussion around it has kind of proven that this is a topic that's top of mind for a lot of y'all. Sorry that we couldn't get Miko here. It sounds like we're going to reschedule, and I'll definitely kind of share that with June and the team, see if we can get that set up here in the G7 Discord. 2 kind of calls to action real quick. 1, suggestions. So like if there's additional guests you would like to have these type of spaces hosted with, or discussions you'd like to explore, tag the G7 team, let them know. And then also, if you haven't checked it out yet, Game7 released pretty big, massive, important research report just yesterday called the Game7 State of Web3 Gaming Report. And it gives you like a deep dive into like the current trends of the industry and maybe how you can structure your startup around it to be even more successful than you would have been potentially without those insights and information. June just posted right there. Helios, have you hosted podcast? Yeah, man. Come on. You don't know about my podcast, bro? Come on, man. I've been podcasting for like 6 months. I got a little podcast deal. All right, cool. Thanks, everyone.
Cool.
I'll pass it over to you, June. Sorry for talking so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, as No Autopilot just mentioned, I know this wasn't precisely what we were looking for, but I really appreciate Josh for stepping up. And, positively, we did get a lot of important topics and questions from the community that we can use for Miko and similar discussions in the future. And I'm happy we got together and got to share stories on how we were able to, get to this point and what we can do to help each other to get to the next stage. Not so bad. We'll learn from each lesson, so it'll be better the next time, and we have you guys back for that one too. So we'll wrap it up here. We do have community hangouts. Michael's sitting in there chilling right now. If you guys want to hang out more, we'll be in the Game7 live voice channel right below this one. If not, we'll connect another time. Oh, by the way, I think we have a lot of new members who came from reading the report. Would love to talk to you guys. Just shoot me a message anywhere. I'm happy to share my Calendly. Would love to learn, what your thoughts on Game7 is about the report, what you're hoping to get out of, participating in this community and such. So looking forward to chatting with you all. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Peace.